welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here in your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
And remember, our goal is always to guide you to personal and financial wellness.
Well, you're here with another wonderful edition of the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. For 8 years, we've been sharing with you great information about real estate finance, estate planning, college planning, insurance planning, you name it, because our goal is what, Gino?
To guide you to personal and financial wellness. And you can find that on our website, donandgino.com. 8 years of show, thousands of YouTube videos, and some of the best interviews with professionals to make sure that you succeed in every market.
That's right. So we do that again by bringing in professionals like, if you saw our last segment, it was a great segment with Steve Korn and Felicia Grady. Felicia Grady is with Realty Executives. Steve Korn, owner of Newhall Escrow, two of the top professionals in Los Angeles, talking about the state of the market today, because the media was beating up the real estate market for about 6 months. And we were warning you, Gino and I both, the market's fine, jobs are fine, economy's fine, hang in there. It's just an adjustment period, and sure enough, the market is rebounding, and Steve and Felicia talked about where the market's at, that it's strong. But on top of that, one of the key factors is how are you going to be successful in selling your home for top dollar and selling your home in the time frame you want. Well, we brought Felicia Grady back from Realty Executives to talk about the items that you need to know to be successful, because Felicia's super successful at helping us. We love working with a true professional, part of CMA Resource Group, and just one of the best in our town. And thank you for joining us again, Felicia.
Thank you so much. When we kind of started, I'd like to talk about the buyer aspect first, because I wanted to bring you guys into that part. So it's a good time to do that.
This is your show.
Is valuable.
Okay.
This is a Felicia Grady show today.
Yeah, sure. I can pretend. But I do want to say, when I wanted to talk about actual showing a house as well as preparing the home for sale, but I wanted to kind of start with buyers. Before they look at a house, they need to talk to a lender. They need to get pre-qualified, so they're looking at the right property. They don't want to get their hopes up and look at a home that they're not going to qualify for, or maybe they qualify but it's not going to be in their budget, and I know you can help them with that. Or maybe they were settling for a home and they could have bought a home that was a little higher in price for the same amount, depending on the kind of loan they were doing, and then they may find out later, oh, I could have had the other house. So they really need to pre-qualify with great lenders like Don and Gino, so that they know exactly what they're buying and they're ready. Also, they need to have a good realtor. Don't just call the listing agent from a sign. Please don't do that.
Oh,
those agents are representing the seller. I don't care how nice they are. I don't care if they say they're going to give you a deal
because they're representing the seller.
No deal.
What is their role? They're representing the seller.
They're representing the seller.
Right.
Okay, if you're buying a piece of paper, you can buy it at Walmart, or you could buy it at, Costco, or pad of paper or whatever. But that's probably a terrible example. I'm just saying, but you don't want to buy a home from Walmart. You want to get a home from a professional. This is probably your biggest investment.
100%.
So you need to have great lenders, and you need to have a great agent who's professional, who's a realtor, not just a real estate agent, salesperson. And there is a huge difference. And anyway, so that's kind of how to start on that.
No, I can appreciate that. And you know what? One of the problems is today, with information being so easily accessible, everybody's an expert. And the biggest problem that you have, and you touched on a couple of those, but what if you can qualify, but what if you have a difficult transaction? What if you're someone that really requires a week or two of planning in order to get into the best position possible? Because sometimes you can get the deal done, but not in the best position possible. A little bit of planning would have gone a long way.
Yes.
Could save you thousands or help you qualify for more.
Right. So let's say the worst case scenario, because it was exciting, you went, you saw a house, and then you say, well, and Felicia was nice enough to say, I'll take you out once so you could see the house, but now you're in trouble. Now you fell in love with the house. Now you got to run to Don and Gino.
Almost every time.
Yeah, it's an emergency, and here's all my paperwork, but I don't have this and I don't have that. Can you give me a letter anyway? No, absolutely not, because we won't let you down. So now you've got to scramble, put everything together in 24 hours, and then maybe we look at it and say, hey, you know what? You need to fix your credit a little bit, or you have a dispute, or hey, what's this? Whose car is this? I mean, a million different things that happen that could have been avoided with a little good planning. Just making sure you start with your finances first. Make sure you're ready, willing, able, and prepared. And like you said, know all your options. To say, here's our price range. Here's what we're going to use. We need a gift. We don't need a gift. We're going to borrow money from our house. especially if you're going to be selling or renting another home. Super critical that you start with your lending aspect first, because all the rules are very different. And interest rate does not mean everything. You know, how many times have we set up deals where the interest rate is higher, but the payment's lower and the overall cost is lower?
Right. So the structuring is correct. But it's so. How much easier for you to help your buyers out and finding a correct home and taking action when they're actually properly prepared versus somebody who has not prepared, and you're like, you need to, for example, we're low on inventory. They will always find the home of their dream, their first shot. Now, whether it's the right home or the best home, they will find a home.
Because they're excited. And,
I've done it.
I
I want to
did it too. I went driving around before I was a realtor. I was like, I want that house.
And then I looked at the next one, like, oh wait, this one I want to offer.
I went to go see houses with Dawn. I'm like, Dawn, you like everything.
That's my point. How much easier is it, because if they do find the home of their dreams and they're excited, but they're not properly prepared, how much harder is it? Because maybe they're not qualified. Can you really put a strong offer in for them without a good pre-approval letter? And what if they talk to an online lender or a bank that you don't trust? Is their offer probably going to be a lot more difficult to get accepted, right?
Yeah, because especially if they're buying locally in the area, the listing agent's going to be advising the seller. And the listing agent's going to feel a lot more comfortable if they have pre-qualification from you or for someone local, as opposed to something online where they don't know if it's going to close escrow, they don't know if that lender has looked at the paperwork or looked at it and not known what they were doing, or known if it was the right kind of loan for that house and that person. Yeah, that's the second part of your question.
Yeah, even a little bit we've asked lately, it's like, hey, ask the loan officer how many loans they do a year or a month. Because the more loans
in
you
this
see,
area.
the more loans you see, the more the more experience you have, and the more difficult things you're able to deal with. Because sometimes the biggest issue we have is property. You know, because reality is, let's say you got all your finances and all your ducks are in a row. Well, you still got to deal with collateral. And sometimes you run into, we actually had rain for the first time in 20 years in California. Well, we had a lot of leaks. We had a lot of leaky roofs and roof certs and situations where there was potential mold. Things that hadn't come up for a very long time, but those are things that need to be navigated. Or litigation in some of the local condos. Okay, you've got to know about those things.
Well, getting to that, say someone wants a condo and they haven't talked with a lender yet. They don't know if they're getting conventional financing or FHA financing, so they don't know the difference. They want to go look at they're going to want to send me a list of a bunch of condos, and I need to know if they're FHA. We're not going to be looking at the ones where the complex is not FHA approved. We'd just be wasting their time and breaking their heart if they fall in love with something that's not FHA approved.
It was
if they're working with a lender that doesn't have both programs.
Well, then
because there's some lenders that they're like, no, we don't want to go there. Well, they don't have it.
That happens a lot to veterans, unfortunately. Is that they're saying, oh yeah, you don't want a VA loan. Why? It's the best loan on the planet. Just because you as a loan officer don't know how to do it.
Or don't know how to sell it. I mean, together, you and I guarantee us can help get a vet offer accepted, despite it being zero down.
But sometimes even a VA loan isn't the right loan for that vet. Then you'll be able to tell them the difference if it's going to work, unless they have to have zero down.
Depending on their goals, depending what they're looking for, depending on their timelines, all kinds of things. In fact, we're looking
they
at...
have 20% down. Why are they going to pay a VA fee?
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's
right now, or if they can get a traditional jumbo program. Or, like we also just did a $1.3 million VA loan. Not a lot of people know you can do that.
Well, I didn't know it could go that high.
It's a great jumbo loan.
Yeah, you raise percentages. It's zero down up to the high conforming loan limit,
and then
it's a percentage.
Yeah. So you can
Wow.
It's a low down jumbo loan for a
great 30-year fixed jumbo loan.
So we learned. Okay.
Good to know.
So in the second half, great. Thank you for bringing that up, because of course that's, we don't want to like pat ourselves in the butt, but it is important of who they work with, the lender, be properly prepared, and then and know all their options. We give them TCAs, which are called total cost analysis, breaking up all their options in black and white, no surprises.
Yeah,
and so it allows you to do your job better.
Right.
You're dating yourself. It's in color, Don.
Yeah, there you go.
and I need to know if they're going to need costs paid or something from the seller, because if they are, it's going to depend on the purchase price we're looking at and whether the seller has flexibility.
Nice. That's even a potential now. For a while there, it wasn't.
Well, I know. I know.
Now, you can potentially negotiate that in sometimes. Depending,
and making sure that the price doesn't go above the appraised value and all. There's a lot of pieces that you have to put together. But okay.
All right. So now you got the buyers all set up. I'm glad that you properly prepare your buyers. Now, sellers. What are the key things that a seller needs to pay attention to?
Okay. Well, as far as in advance, or as far as preparing the house for
Preparing
showing,
the
we're
house,
talking about. Okay.
pricing it, preparing it, making it show right, all those type of things.
Well, okay, I'm sure that everyone knows all the things. Okay, we got to prepare the price. We talked about that briefly before. You got to have the right price. Make sure the house is presentable, but not just that. You want, in addition to making the bed and washing the dishes and so on, you want to get rid of distractions so the buyer doesn't come in and see a big picture of the family and go, I think I know them. You don't want anything.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, like I had, if the seller has anything, any kind of art decor that could be controversial either way, or anything that's political or religious or sexy, or anything like that. Anything that could be distracting to a buyer. You want them to see the house and think about that and not remember it. Oh, that's the house with the.
Well, also the things that you like are not necessarily the things that somebody else likes. We were just talking about even upgrades.
Right.
We were talking about some upgrades are not neutral at all. When I was looking for a house, so this guy was like, "Oh, you got to see the upgrades in the house." And I walked in, and it was crystal chandeliers, white glossy wainscot everywhere. I thought it was horrible. I didn't like the upgrades at all for me.
But for him, this is one. You remember that Ricky Nelson song, "Garden Party"? If you can't please. Okay. No, you can't please everybody. You got to please. I'm not going to really sing. I can't sing, but I'm not going to.
She's an entertainer, ladies and gentlemen. That's why
karaoke, community theater. That's
she does. She's a great entertainer.
Okay, but that song, you can't please everybody. You got to please yourself. So, but in this way, it's opposite. You've got to try to please everyone the best you can. This is the time to be a crowd pleaser. Neutralize your home. And those things, obviously, if you've got the crystal chandelier and the marble or whatever, you're not going to rip that all out.
No.
You got to do what you can do. But
what's reasonable?
But whatever is reasonable, and that includes all of the senses, the smell. Say you love Indian cooking. I love Indian cooking. But if someone walks in and they are not familiar with that, they might be turned off from the house because they don't care for the smells. Whereas another person might like it, but you're limiting the number of buyers who are going to be interested in the house, and that's all they remember. Or if there's a smell of smoke, or and they don't know if it's coming from the fireplace that was recently used, or if it was a smoker, will it come out of the rugs?
Right.
Just neutralize wet dog, things like that. So, so neutral, and don't put on a scented candle because then they wonder what that's hiding.
What you're covering up,
Right, and music. Some people suggest soft music. Don't do soft music because everyone likes different kinds of music. I went in a house that had soft jazz music, and the person, they were like a hip hop type of music, and they were like, "Oh, what's this music?" Or like my son.
That's all they'll remember.
Or like my son, who loves classical music. Anything other than classical music, he's like, "Ah," and that's all I remember.
It's very personal. So music's very personal. Religion's very personal. Pictures are very personal. The food, smell, all those things are colored.
And this is no longer going to be your house. So with the things you can change to depersonalize, and just do that. And also make sure that when appointments are set up, you're out of the way. No one wants a seller there. Total key.
It's very uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable as a buyer if the seller is there.
And I don't know if I'd mentioned in a previous one, but I never forgot this one house. There were like 5 people in the house with the dog, and then we went to one bedroom, and there was a kid playing a video game and wouldn't move when they tried, and the buyer said, "Let's get out of here." And they couldn't. They just couldn't buy the house because there was too much going on. The seller needs to leave, get the pet secured. If the seller has to be there or someone has to be in a room, I understand sometimes we have someone who can't leave a room. Just make sure you clear out so that the buyer can get into that room. And make sure they can see every room. Like, don't say, "Well, you can't go in the garage because of whatever." Just make sure they see the whole
any
thing.
unknowns is not good for a potential buyer.
They're going to think the worst.
Right. Okay, and then considering unknowns, Gino and I do signature listings. We represent tons of open house on a regular basis. We look through all the pictures, and we can tell you one of the worst things we see in represent home, because everybody goes online. Everybody. Before it was 93%. No, everyone goes online and looks at homes. Pictures and how you present the home are imperative, are they not? Because we see crooked pictures, dark pictures, or one picture.
And they can be an endless source of entertainment, can't they?
Yeah, but like you said,
Unless you're really looking for a home.
You think the worst. So we're looking at, we maybe look at 12, 13 properties in one day, and you're looking at it, and it has this great description, but then all you see is the outside of the house. And so now the description isn't congruent with the pictures, and you're saying, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with this?
Right. And now in the agent comments, it might say tenant occupied. You can't go in, so maybe the agent hasn't been allowed in to take photos, but the public doesn't know that. But just get in there, get photos. Yeah, and when you're listing a house, make sure that the agent you're working with does really great photos. I mean, I love the ones where you see the picture with the reflection of the agent in the mirror, or worse.
We don't need cameos.
The family dog. I had one where the seller was, kind of going like this. I've seen there was some website that has like these crazy.
Here's something silly, but as an interview question as a buyer is, hey, could you give me some links to the last 5 listings that you've listed? I'd like to take a look at the photographs.
Ooh.
How about that?
Oh,
They'd be
anyone
like,
can ask me that.
yeah.
That's what I'm
Hold
saying.
on one
You're
second.
going to go and bring it.
Sure, because I've got the signature listing video, and I have a good photographer, and not the kind where the photo it looks like it's in a fishbowl.
All the fisheye, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just someone who can really make the most of small spaces, but not exaggerate. And I don't want photos where they're. I mean, I know it looks nicer if they're doing virtual staging, for a vacant home where their grass
That's
is
not real.
colored fake green. It's not what the person's going to see. If they're disclosing that it's virtual staging, that's fine, so that the buyer knows. But there should be real truth in advertising.
But here's the funny thing, right? So virtual staging and altering things is 2 different things. One, virtual staging is I added
that
a
is
couch
2
into the
different
living
things.
room and I added a nice portrait onto the wall so
Right.
that that's
But
nice.
airbrushing
But
the lawn?
airbrushing the lawn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I
Or the
know
outside of the house.
it actually looks like it's all one color, but when you get there, it's going to be like 3 colors because the stucco's all come on. You got to lay off
That's
the
what I'm saying. They're 2
Photoshop.
separate things, but
Yeah.
disclose about that if it is virtual, just in fairness. But don't. I'm just saying, don't do the green thing at all.
Yeah, it's too much.
So yeah.
And then look, staging I think is a good thing. Staging done with good
Staging
taste.
is good.
It was
yes.
really well done in the home I
Yeah.
chose. It did help a lot because now it's empty, and I would have went, but the way they staged, I'm like, this looks great. It did work. It really did.
And then, but
and it was
interesting.
decluttered. Very clean, very open. I could
Just a
put my
little bit.
own mindset of what I would do to it.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't overdo it to where I'm like, I don't know. It was very clean.
Clean is probably the most important thing.
telling you.
Because people, they say, well, if the person's taking the time, the buyer is thinking the seller's taking the time to keep it clean, they're less suspicious that there are going to be repairs that need to be done.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, they'll still have an inspection that will determine if there are,
Sure.
but at least it looks like this homeowner had some sense of pride.
Well, it sounds like, Felicia Grady, you have it on the ball with how to help your buyers, how to help your sellers. You're not afraid to tell them what they need to know, because a lot of agents, unfortunately, they will tell a buyer or seller what they want to hear in order to get the deal, but they're not true professionals. You do a great job,
Thank
Felicia.
you. I have to say something else that's really important for buyers. Keep in mind, a lot of people are doing recording in their homes.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
This is really
Yeah, there's
important.
cameras.
Just, I would say, always go in assuming, whether it's vacant or not, assume that you're being recorded. You can talk, but don't say anything negative or positive. Talk outside, away from any garage cameras.
Be like, ooh, look at this ugly painting.
Yeah.
And then you're putting your offer and go, yeah, we don't like that.
No, don't like
And
that.
then
That
we
was
sell
my
it.
wife.
And you might hear people arguing about it, and the people end up making a great offer on the house if you're the seller. But that stuff is, just
That's crazy.
Just,
That's
just
something new.
assume.
I did not know
Just
that.
assume you're being recorded at all
Ooh,
times.
that's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, thank you for being part of our
Thank
show,
you for
Felicia. I
inviting
know
me.
you're super busy. You're always involved. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
so involved in the community as well.
Thank you.
You're a great ambassador of the real estate community here in Santa
Well, you
Cruz,
guys
LA.
are terrific. You participated in the shredding event. You held it here, which was
That was
great.
very
Good.
successful.
Hey, I wish I
Yeah.
shredded like 4
Should
boxes
do
of
that.
mine. Thank you for that. Good job. They were just sitting here in the office. He's like, you want me to shred all that? I'm like, yes, shred all of it. All of it.
No, but thank you for
Oh,
being a
yeah.
good friend and a lot of fun in our community.
Oh, and congratulations on winning the Grill Master.
Yeah.
3-peater.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's a great event, and it's always for a good cause, for the youth group. We forget that, kids in Santa Clarita are still teenagers, and teenagers have problems no matter where they live.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so they need
You're
help
still
with
a
that.
teenager?
Yeah, I have problems no matter where I live.
We all
That's my
do.
wife.
No, but thank you for a great show today.
Thank you so much.
And be sure to always tune in. You get a lot of these great shows just like Felicia. How do they get a hold of you again, Felicia?
You can call me, 661-433-2244. Find me at Facebook, Felicia Grady Real Estate Professional, or my website, SantaClaritaRealty.com.
There you go.
Cool. Thank you, Felicia. And thank you for being part of the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. Again, you can always find out more at donandgino.com. On that, you can also find our daily video blog called the National Real Estate Cafe. We have Interview with the Giants. We also have a great resource group called America's Professional Resource Group, aprgi.com. We have it all for you. Thank you for being part of our show. We'll see you next week.